This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, just get my camera on. So my name's Lindsay Green. I'm the clerk at the township. So I'm going to call the first, or I guess the second meeting, but first meeting with business. I'll call it to order at 7:04 p.m. So first on the agenda is the confirmation of the agenda. So I'll need a mover and a seconder just to confirm the agenda as presented. Just by show of hands, or Dale, speak up because I can't see you. So Joan as mover. Do I have a seconder? Mayor Woodbury. Is anyone opposed to that? And I see Dale has left, which means we have lost quorum. Let's give him a second to reconnect.
Did we get a hold of Rika? Was she going to attend tonight?
I have tried and have not had any luck.
Okay. We may need to consider a replacement then.
If you're looking for more candidates, I know 2 people who might be interested.
Joan, you always come to the rescue. We'll maybe be in touch.
Okay. Thank you.
Dale's likely trying to reconnect. I just got his answering service, so. Yeah, I think he's trying to get on. I can't get through to him. It's just voicemail.
Odd is he usually doesn't have a problem connecting with his phone.
He is trying. He's having problems even with his phone, so he's going to call him the landline.
Okay.
I think what we'll have to do is send somebody over to load the app for him because he couldn't get in. I mean, we had a heck of a problem today when we were meeting with the OPP, and we had to come back to our platform.
Dale, is that you?
Yep. Is that any better?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. I'm just on the phone. I can't get that other deal to work.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. So we were just at the motion to confirm the agenda as presented. Joan was mover and John Woodbury was seconder. Is anyone opposed to that motion? Hearing none, that is carried. The next item is the declaration of pecuniary interest. So that's basically if anyone has a financial interest in anything or a conflict of interest with any of the agenda items or anything like that, that's when you would declare that. And then you would recuse yourself from the discussion and the voting of the item. So I'm not seeing any right now, but you can declare now or at any time throughout the meeting if something comes up. Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the minutes. So there is a motion here from our meeting on October 25th. There wasn't actually any minutes, but we did print them saying that there wasn't quorum. So I have a motion here, be it resolved that the committee receive the minutes from the October 25th, 2021 Southgate Community Fund Management Committee meeting. Do I have a mover for that? Maybe someone that was present. Heather and Joan, maybe? Heather, thank you. Joan, would you care to second? And anyone opposed? Okay, seeing none, that is carried. Next on the agenda is the introduction and goals of the committee members. Maybe I'll turn that over either to Dave or to Stuart. You're muted, Dave.
It was a really good speech. Maybe we just go around and start with John and just introduce ourselves. I'm Dave, the CEO. I think everybody knows me anyway, but John, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, John Woodbury, I'm the mayor, and I'm just really interested in getting this endeavor going and seeing the results.
Okay, I'll let you go next, Joan.
Sure, after I unmute myself. Okay, my name is Joan John. I am the president of an organization here in town, the Junction Community Initiative, where we do programs for the youths and for the community. I am just ecstatic to see what this is about because I write my own grants and want to learn more about what goes on in the community. Thank you.
If you want really good jerk chicken, just ask Joan for the recipe. Heather, I'll let you go next.
Heather Renton, and I live in Drumore. I don't know what, I'm a retired teacher. And I'm very interested in what we're doing here.
We'll let Dale, he's the math guy here.
Dale Pallister, just live east of Hopeful. And
I think Heather broke up, but I think she said interested in what we're doing. So, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, and just has been council member and just always have been interested in what happens in the community.
And I'll let you go next, Stuart. Just go around the outside here.
Sure. Hey, everybody. My name's Stuart Reed, and I'm Executive Director at Community Foundation Grey Bruce. And I'm very excited to be part of getting the Southgate Community Fund started, and happy to be here to meet you all this evening.
I think Lindsay's introduced herself, and the next two are rather shy individuals, but Holly's our administrative assistant, and she's going to be for a better word, secretary for the committee. And there's Kayla. She's our HR coordinator and makes me look very good on a daily basis from the standpoint of keeping me in line. But she assists with the supporting the CO position. You guys should go ahead and talk about yourselves. You've got lots to. If you haven't, I haven't fulfilled all my obligations of introducing the two of you and the value to the organization. But go ahead, please, Kayla or Holly.
Yeah, no, you did a good job. I've been working with Stuart a little bit on this just to form the committee, so I'm excited to see where it goes.
Looks like Holly might be locked. Oh, there she is.
Yep, I'm Holly, just the recording secretary for the committee, so you'll see invites and minutes and agendas from me.
Good.
So next on the agenda is a review of this terms of reference document. Dave, you want to take that as well?
Or maybe it's or Stuart, maybe we could both take a run at this one.
Sure. Well, the
do you want to lead off? You know how the committee should function better than I because of your experience. So I think I'll let you take the lead there.
Well, this is the terms of reference that sort of sets out the parameters of what we do on the Southgate Community Fund Management Committee, and I think it's pretty straightforward. I hope you've all had a chance to look through it. It's setting out a mission statement, and the community fund is put together to be a granting system for organizations, charities, and not-for-profits in the township of Southgate. So it's going to be supporting different projects. And the mandate is of the committee is pretty general too, but some very important points about raising awareness of the Southgate Community Fund and Community Foundation Grey Bruce in the area as well. So really kind of broadening the understanding of community philanthropy and how it works. We're also going to be developing community partners. So we imagine we're going to be reaching out to other groups and talking with other community partners about how we can work together to build support for the well-being of the community of Southgate. Developing public relations and promotional materials, and those will of course be supporting that work we do to broaden public awareness or broadening understanding of what we're doing in terms of community philanthropy, holding networking events and creating strategic partnering to grow the fund. So we're going to hear a little bit about how some of the other community funds work as well. Kayla joined our AGM and our ambassador forum the other day, and we had representatives from the other 5 community funds, and there's some really interesting and fun initiatives that are happening that maybe we can mimic or come up with other ideas to really build the fund together. Recommendations to Southgate Council regarding granting processes, fund development and committee structure. So that's your relationship with the municipal body in terms of talking about community philanthropy, representing what we're doing, probably celebrating some of the granting stories that we're going to be able to tell after the first couple of years of granting. And this group reviews the fund financials and their management each year, and the Community Foundation manages the funds, and there'll be a statement coming about the amount earned, the amount granted, and that be your responsibility to present that to the municipal body. And also, we actively take a part in reviewing applications and making recommendations to the grant review team about who should receive funding as well. The terms of reference go on to talk a little bit about the membership, how the committee is made up, and we have 2 ambassadors. So those are the door openers, champions for community philanthropy that we have across Grey and Bruce. Our goal is to have 2 from each municipal region and First Nation. We're getting close, and they're active people. We gather together twice a year to talk about our work together and to give ambassadors the support they need to be good exponents of philanthropy in the area. We have one city councilor representing the township on the group, and also 5 to 7 community members. So quite a diverse group of people that are coming together to talk about the goals that we've just discussed. And then there's some stuff about responsibilities in terms of planning, development, fund development, annual reporting to mayor and council, and then that grant making effort that happens at least once a year in the spring. How our quorum and decision making are going to take place. It's good to lay out all the housekeeping rules, and some general parameters on how meetings are conducted. And I won't go through those. I'm sure they're pretty standard, and a great thing to refer to if we have any questions about discussions together. And then it also, the terms of reference sets out some offices to support the work. And there's a chair position, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, someone related in charge of communications and marketing, grant review, a recruitment person, someone looking for new members in the community, general members, and then associate community members who from time to time may be not attending every meeting, but there to assist us or lend expertise to the work we're doing too. And then a little bit at the end about how we make amendments to the policy document there. I don't know if Dave has anything to add. That's kind of a high fly through the terms of reference. I'm sure if there's any questions, we could address those now too.
And that was a great review of the document. The big thing I just want to point out is that this is the committee's document, and if there's changes to be made, we definitely support, recommendations. If we get stymied on that there's something in the terms of reference that doesn't fit with the direction the committee's heading, we could definitely, amend that terms of reference with the council's support and going forward. But we've taken a stab at it, and I think between Stewart and Southgate staff, we feel it's a starting place for a good document for the committee to take some following from. And anyway, any questions or comments? Okay.
Okay, I'm not hearing any questions.
Back to you, Lindsay.
Thank you, Dave. So the next item on the agenda is actually Stewart's presentation. So I'll just need a mover and a seconder to put that on the floor, and then Stewart can take it from there. John as a mover, a seconder? Joan? Okay, Stewart, you have the floor. Do you want us to make you the presenter, or do you want Holly to advance the slides for you?
If you make me the presenter, I'll just share my screen. I think I made a couple of slight updates to the presentation that I shared earlier.
Okay, we've made you the presenter, so you can go ahead.
Thank you. And how's that? Can you see that? Great.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So I put together just a couple of slides related to an introduction to the Community Foundation, as well as some of the functioning of things we're going to be doing together. A lot of people ask, sometimes people don't understand what a community foundation does, and we are a method of building community well-being. We work with endowment funds, so people in the community, agencies or individuals, families, or in this case, the municipalities making contributions to an endowment fund. We never touch the capital of the gift, so that is preserved forever. But collectively, we pool all these resources and invest them in the stock market, and that gives us returns, which we turn into grants, and we're able to grant back to the community every year since inception, monies to support charities and not-for-profits that do wonderful work in relation to all aspects of community life, everything from arts and culture to social services and housing, sports and recreation, the environment, all aspects of community life are supported by granting through the Community Foundation. We're going to learn a little bit more about that as we go through our first cycle together. And it is a international movement. Right now, there are 192 community foundations across Canada. It's a model that was adopted from the American model. It first came to Canada in 1921. So the Winnipeg Foundation is celebrating its centennial this year. Our community foundation in Grey Bruce was started in 1994, so 27 years ago. And as I mentioned, over 191 across the country right now. So it's also estimated that 90% of Canadian communities have access to a community foundation. So that's pretty impressive. That's about the permutation across the country. We're reaching lots and lots of Canadians from coast to coast to coast and offering this philanthropic mechanism to make them have an opportunity to really invest back in the community that they've come to love. And the network continues to grow. This number's from 2018, but 5.2 billion is the estimate of assets that are held by community foundations across the country. So that's a lot of money. That's bigger than the GDP of a lot of countries. So, you know, we're really a growing entity, and as every year passes, more people make donations, more earnings are had. So that number continues to grow as time goes by. And this is a little map of where they're all located. And of course, you know, they're usually along the border where all the people are in Canada, but you can see that there's a lot of dots happening in the north of the country, and we're really hitting every region and territory across Canada, and that's pretty exciting. One of the other things that makes us unique, and if you're, a lot of people consider their philanthropic plan, and there are a lot of opportunities with the major banks or investment houses, but we're different because we're locally managed. We work with local community knowledge, and we grant locally too. So there's a real reassurance there that you're working with. When people donate to the Community Foundation or to the Southgate Community Fund, they're really investing in their neighbors and friends, and those are the people that are making decisions, and that really sets us apart from other options in terms of the philanthropic landscape. This is a picture of some of our board members. So we have a board of 12 that wonderful individuals with all kinds of different expertise that offer stewardship and governance over the Community Foundation's assets. And this picture was from 2016, my first day of work at the foundation, and we had lunch with David Johnson, who was the Governor General at the time, and he came to Owen Sound to celebrate the completion of our Smart and Caring initiative, which was to add $1 million in endowed education funds to our assets, and we were really thrilled to celebrate with him. And he talked a lot about his interest in education for all Canadians, and particularly Indigenous people's access to education too. So we are working alongside foundations from across the country, and often we pick up challenges that other foundations are also engaged in, and there's a wonderful kind of collegial network that we take advantage of too. And Southgate Community Fund is going to have access to those initiatives and that network as well. So here's a little infographic, and this is typical of some of the tools we have available for you and your work as ambassadors for the foundation and for representatives of the community fund. If you do bump into people that have questions, or you need something from our office to kind of help you in your work talking with people in the community, please reach out. We have a lot of things that can that are able to tell the story of what we do. So this is just that kind of circle infographic, the cycle of donor making a donation, the donor engagement that we offer. We try and work with donors to make sure we're fulfilling their goals in terms of giving. We can take in contributions of many different types, not just money. So it can be property or real estate or life insurance or RIFs or appreciated securities. Often there are tax benefits associated with different types of giving, and and people are sometimes surprised and really pleased to find out about the ways that the tax laws support giving while you're alive. You don't have to wait until after you're dead to have an impact. You put together a plan that works while you're alive and take advantage of those benefits for you and your family. And then all that money is pooled together and invested, and that creates grants. And with the grants, we make community impact because we're talking with groups and hearing about what they need and supporting strategically projects in the community that are making life better for everybody. So just in terms of scale, since the foundation started, we've had an amazing increase in our ability to give out money and the types of projects we're supporting. And it's estimated since we began in 1994, we've given back over $6 million. We just crested over that number this year. So that's pretty impressive. And in terms of growth, you can see in 1995, we gave out $2,500 in grants that very first year of granting. And as the story goes, with some of our board members that made contributions out of their own pocket in the early years to make sure that we were able to grant groups. And then in 2021, just last year, we were up over 725,000. The year before, in 2020, during the pandemic year, we were part of some of the federal relief funding that was flowing through the Emergency Community Support Fund and the IRP, and we were up over 1.3 million in that year. So it's growing and year by year. And in terms of this little slide tells you some of the aspects of things that we're supporting. Health and wellness in 2021 was a really big one. Often arts and culture or sports and rec are a little bit larger, but last year it was health and wellness over 40%. Lifelong learning, education, community connections, the environment, living standards. So quite a diversity of things that we're investing in. And we also, the Community Foundation supports things right across Grey Bruce. So it's not geographically specific, although our office is located in Owen Sound. The projects that we support cover all areas of Grey and Bruce. So here's just a little bit of a sift of the number from our fall granting, just where the money landed. And you can see that we have lots of projects in Bruce, lots of projects in Grey, some on First Nations, and then some projects that support all of the region as well. Right now we have over 165 funds, individual named funds, and over $20 million in endowed assets. That's the Community Foundation collectively. And as I mentioned, that number 997 for 2020 was the fiscal year, and the 1.3 million that I mentioned was March to March. So when the pandemic hit in March 20 to March 2021, we crested over 1.3 million. And then what we're here to talk about tonight are our community funds, and we have 6 of those, one in Owen Sound, Meaford, Grey Highlands, Saugeen Shores, Kincardine, and in addition to Southgate. And we also have other types of funds that we administer. We're going to talk about community funds, but unrestricted funds are funds that don't have any parameters on how they're used. So people give us money to either to support the foundation's operations or just to help the work that we do, trusting that we'll make good judgment about how we dispense the grants from the funds they've given us. Field of interest would be, somebody's interested in sports, hockey, or preserving trees or animal welfare, something like that. And then the fund would be set up and the foundation would make sure that we're following through on the donors' wishes each time we give a grant. Designated funds are when an agency is pinpointed. So someone might be interested in supporting good mental health in the community. So CMHA might be the designated agency that would receive the grant every year. Donor advised funds are probably the most common, and that's where we have an ongoing conversation with donors about how to deploy the grants. So they can change their mind from year to year. Every year we have a call and we say, oh my, during the pandemic, we've seen a lot of requests for food security issues or food banks. And so they may direct their their dollars to whatever is the pressing need, and that's an ongoing conversation with those donors. Scholarships, I mentioned our 1.8 million in education money, so we have a whole range of scholarships, bursaries, and awards for Grey Bruce students to support a diverse education pathways. Agency endowment funds are when agencies from the community come forward and they say, hey, this is a great idea, and they want to pool their money to work with the collective and benefit from the amalgamated assets. So they park money with us and they receive the check every year to support their ongoing operations. We have an awful lot of those. And then managed funds are from time to time, other entities may come to us and want to benefit from our financial stewardship. So they'd start a fund with us, and then that money may be retractable after a certain period of time. We've had this happen with, let's see, hospice, for example, when our community agency's building and waiting for a build, and they might want to park their money that they fundraised and let it grow. And so we've had a couple like that where that's happened. So what is a community fund? Well, it's run by back a bit. It's run by a local advisory committee. We work closely with the foundation. Your work adheres with our Community Foundation charitable principles, our policies and practices. So your work benefits from the 27 years that we've been in business and the expertise that we're able to lend to the work you're doing locally in Southgate. You may or may not have your own application process. I think right now we're going to be utilizing the spring community grant intake through the Community Foundation, where we take in all the applications from across the region. And what will happen is in the first couple of years when we get down to granting, we'll be sifting out all of the applications that come from Southgate specifically. And then your group will be looking at those and saying, oh, I think this year we want to single out this group, and this group, and helping us make decisions about where the grants are going to go. And so sometimes there can be multiple geographically based community funds partnered with one community foundation. That's what we have here. We have 6 different geographically specific funds that are all underneath the umbrella of our community foundation. And so how does it work? So the grants from each community fund are dispersed only to projects within those municipal boundaries. So we're talking about Southgate, the township of Southgate, and all of the funding that we support will benefit projects in that region. Managed by a volunteer team, and we have a rep from the municipality, and we're about enriching the quality of life. This really mimics some of the terms of reference that we used for our committee as well, our committee terms of reference. And we're in place to help citizens of the municipality to keep their charitable donations working within their own area. And that's really something interesting in Grey and Bruce, because we are a very agrarian based, a lot of rural areas, and we learn more and more about this phenomenon called rural wealth transfer, which is meant to be, it's estimated that I think it's about $40 trillion is going to change hands in farming communities in North America over the next decade. And that's a lot about giving people, families that may be coming to a point where they're not able to pass it on to a family member, the farm, they might be dispersing, and rather than giving all the wealth to kids or somebody that's moved down to Kitchener, Waterloo, or London or Toronto, they can make a choice to benefit the community where they made their wealth, and to benefit Southgate rather than sending their money to some other community. So we're hoping to have conversations like that with families in the area, and really talk about the good work we can do locally with their kind donation. And donors, of course, receive income tax receipts for all their donations to the community fund, and we administer those through my office at the Community Foundation. And so a lot of people talk about the difference between the foundation and the fund. And so the foundation is the registered charity, the not-for-profit registered public foundation with Canada Revenue Agency. So we're we're kind of the umbrella watchdog. We watch, make sure we're adhering to all of the rules and regulations set out by the Income Tax Act in Canada. And our board of governors, our board of directors really governs the operations of the foundation. So that gives everyone reassurance that, you know, we're making good decisions and acting prudently. And we take our responsibilities very seriously in terms of managing those community assets for the benefit of all the people of Grey and Bruce. We also make sure that we are impeccable with all of our financial records, our receipting, our tax filing. We file T3010 report to CRA every year about our operations. And we make sure we have a good relationship with our investment manager, and we're watching very carefully what they're doing. We also help administer all the granting that happens in terms of transfer of money and making sure granting agencies are reporting and completing the work that they've set out to do. We organize all the meetings. You know, we're kind of the mothership, and you guys are the satellite. And so the community fund. Let me see my slide here. Well, that is run locally, and you will be implementing grant recommendations for us to act upon. And what's that bottom one? I can shift this window over. No, I'm not used to go-to meetings, so I don't have the same screen capability. But I'm sure you can read the things along the side if I'm missing anything there. But yeah, so it's a fund of that's administered under the umbrella of the Community Foundation, and you guys have sovereignty and authority over how those grants are deployed there. We offer all the ancillary support for the running of that granting, for the management of investment, and the compliance with all the regulations and tax laws. So that gives you great reassurance about how it's all working. And I'm trying to advance my slide here. It's a little stuck. Oh, there we go. Try this button over here. There we go. And how do we work together? The Community Fund Committee, you know, we're doing that now. We're partnering to establish the Community Fund. We work with donors, so donors can bring in gifts, large or small. We invest them. The recommendations from the Community Fund gives us priorities and understanding of how we want to administer the grants. And then we also oversee the granting. And a lot of that is going to be interesting because it'll give us a chance to build stories that we're going to be telling in the community too. After that first year of granting, we're going to become acquainted with who's doing projects in Southgate, and we're going to be following along and hearing about what they're working on and hearing about successes. We're also going to meet people who are benefiting from those projects. And at the Community Foundation, and I'm going to talk about this a little later in the presentation, storytelling is really golden. That's how we build awareness of community philanthropy, by getting people to tell us their story, and we're able to share that. And that's really an amazing way to spread the word about the benefits of philanthropy in our community. Oh, sorry, there we go. So Kincardine, lost it there. Kincardine Community Fund is one of our flagship community funds. This is a page from their website on the municipal page, and they are been very successful. Like you, they're a committee of council, and that's really given them a lot of advantage in terms of the management from staff to help them get fundraising projects off the ground. They do some really interesting things. Just was it last week? I think it was. We did a will writing workshop and estate planning workshop with local lawyers and financial advisors. Back in August, we did a wonderful event that's happened, I think, 4 or 5 years in a row. Cardboard boat race down at the harbor. That's part of their marine heritage celebration every summer, where kids build cardboard boats and get sponsors. And real great friend-raising event that really brings a lot of attention to the fund as well. And they're working during the year to keep the community fund front and center, and they've had some great success. So we're hoping. I know that Kayla at the Ambassador Forum got to meet some of the folks from Kincardine, but they're great friends to have, and we can learn a lot from some of the work that they've been doing. And next slide. One of the other funds that we're managing right now, and it benefits all communities across the area, is our Next 25 fund. We're building non-restricted reserves so that we're better able to address community need as it arises. So most of our funds that we manage are those donor advised ones. So the foundation does not have, we have to follow through on the goals that the funder has set out for those funds. So we can't divert them to, food security or housing or something that's an emergency like we saw during the pandemic. So what we're trying to do is build more non-restricted funds that have discretion, that we can use with discretion to address emergencies and things as they come up. So that's been it continues to be a big focus for the foundation. Right now, our fund is up around $160,000. Our goal is $250,000, and we're well on the way. And that's going to give us the ability to direct granting in a much more strategic way to help out with things as they come up. Emergency Community Support Fund, that was that program I mentioned that came through the federal government during the pandemic. And we supported a lot of great projects. It was a time, this is a quote from our president of Community Foundations of Canada, about the pandemic as an opportunity to act more boldly than ever before, considering charities and nonprofits as pillars of our community, and bringing more than just emergency support to weather the storm. So we really stepped up. Every community foundation across the country was able to utilize those federal dollars to really have an impact locally. And in Grey Bruce, we had some of our biggest grants ever. We gave over $45,000 to OSHARE, for example, Owen Sound Hunger and Relief Effort, to support food for people that had to use the food kitchen during the pandemic. And their demand for what they needed rose incrementally 300% during COVID-19. So it was amazing that we were able to step up and help. Another thing that we've been really active in the last couple of years is supporting social enterprise in our community. And we did that through the Investment Readiness Program, which was a federal program to support social enterprise, which is can be a profit or not for profit, but at their core, they have a mission to give back to the community. And I'll give a little bit of a better definition as we move along. We were giving out grants of $10,000 to $100,000 in non-repayable capital to encourage this type of entity to flourish in Grey Bruce. And a social enterprise, as I mentioned, an organization or program that is mission-driven, aiming to sell goods or services to earn a revenue while helping achieve positive social, cultural, or environmental results. So some social enterprises have a mandate in terms of their employment practices or the way that they're using sustainable materials, or some give their part of their revenue back to community groups, or some of them have community purpose built right into their functioning. So a really interesting entity, and we'll learn more about those as years go by, because it's really being encouraged. Some of these other slides, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about some of the other things we've supported recently that are kind of build on your storytelling ability, just so you see the scope of what we've been doing. The Begidawatt Alliance at Niashiniming, which is Chippewas of Nawash First Nation, had a investment readiness program grant to bring people to the shoreline at the nation to learn a little bit from community elders and about Indigenous knowledge about the fishing practices along the shoreline and about environmental change and climate change. So really interesting project that happened there. Also during the pandemic, we've been reaching out and talking to charities and not-for-profits, because the foundation and the community funds are we don't do the work in the community. We rely on a healthy charitable sector to actually do the project. So it's very important for us to understand how they're functioning, what they're doing, what they need. And we reached out a couple of times during the pandemic to hear how that was going. We heard about the catastrophic nature of the loss of fundraising when people couldn't get together. We also heard that they needed operating funding, so we opened up a different percentage of operating funding within the granting portfolio this spring as well, which was designed to help them and keep them healthy. I'm going to skip through some of these. There are special projects that we're working on locally, and just skip to the storytelling thing. So storytelling is actually built into the Community Foundation's strategic plan. And as I mentioned, we really believe that that is the way to build the foundation as a top of mind organization, is by telling stories about our impact and using stories from neighbors and friends to relay about the good things that happen. A lot of that happens through our ambassadors, and I mentioned we have representatives from all the municipal areas, and by your work on the community fund, you'll be invited to participate in our ambassador forums twice a year, and that's an exciting thing. And at those forums, we offer resources and updates and new techniques and information for you to work in terms of your outreach to your community. Here's a picture from one of our forums pre-pandemic. And we believe community storytelling is the way to spread the word about our impact. And we do that on social media too. If you're not following the foundation on Facebook or Instagram, I encourage you to join up. We have stories about different projects that are happening. This Grants in Action series highlights things from across the region about projects that are happening that we want to celebrate and let people know about the difference that charities are making in the community through the different things that they have on the go, from hospitals to agencies to environmental groups. That there's a great diversity in what's happening. We do a lot of work with groups that are supporting youth and education, like Elephant Thoughts, and scholarships and bursaries. As I mentioned, it's a great storytelling thing. This is Connor Maxwell, who was the very first recipient of the Walkerton Clean Water Legacy Scholarship last year. So a young man who's going off to pursue post-secondary education with a goal of working in water science and probably coming back to the community or moving on to a new community to make sure that there's clean drinking water and the well management of those kinds of resources. So a great community telling story. Eat Local Grey Bruce, we've done a lot of work with food agencies across the area too. And they were the recipient of one of those large grants that we had through the federal program, $45,000 to upgrade their sustainable practices, strategic planning, and really bolster their agency during the pandemic too. And one of the ways we learn about stories is through our road shows. We're looking forward to getting back to that when pandemic allows, but getting out to the community to really meet people in their community, to hear about what's going on, and to get stories that we can use in our social media feed and how we talk about what we do to the rest of the community. These are the other community funds. We get out to help out with passing out grants and celebrating grants in each of the communities that has a fund. So we'll be looking forward to a visit to Southgate very soon. And our office also will help you in the way that you tell your story. This is a slide with a couple of the Instagram posts that we've been managing for the Owen Sound Fund over the last year, just little ways of communicating what the Owen Sound Fund and other community fund, what it's all about, who it's supported, and build awareness about its activities. And so Christine McGregor, who's our community outreach officer, will be able to assist the Southgate group with getting the message out as well. And vital signs is another great talking point that you can use as well. It's a community report card about measuring wellness and health and all aspects of community life. We did a full report in 2016, and there's another one coming out in early 2022 about housing I'm going to talk about. We have also, RBC Future Launch was able to support some community challenge grants we gave out across Grey Bruce as well. These are all activities that could be coming to Southgate through the alliance with the community fund too. We had grants of $15,000 that supported youth in their community to come up with projects that addressed issues outlined in the Vital Signs report. And Vital Signs, like that network of community foundations, goes right across the country. It's a great pulse taking of how we're doing in comparison to other communities across Canada, and also talking about conversation points are forged about wellness and about things in our community that are pressing. And right now, of course, housing is a big topic with all of the development going on in Grey Bruce and changing nature of our communities and the access to affordable housing, the accessibility to housing, the big topic. And we're going to be having a vital conversation about that upcoming on December 9th from 4 to 6. And I encourage you all to join in if you can. There is some information. We're just beginning to release this on our social media feed. So there is information about how to register for that conversation coming out. If you want to visit our Facebook page, there's a place to register for that conversation. And that's going to be a big topic for us in the months ahead as we head toward a full report on housing that's going to be released in March 2022 as well. So that's kind of a high-flying overview of some of the things that are going on with the Community Foundation. I hope it's not too much information. I also refer you to our annual report, which has just come out. This is the cover of it, and that's available for download on our website too. Talks a little bit about our financial position, a little bit about highlights from last year, and celebrates the other community funds that are at work as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the functioning of the Community Fund Committee or anything else that comes out of the introduction that I've just given.
Joan?
Yes.
Yes,
I have
Joan.
a question, Stuart. I have a non-for-profit organization, and I also apply for funding from different organizations. Since I am a part of the committee, how would that affect my organization if I apply for funding from the community fund management?
That's a great. I'd really encourage you, Joan. We'd love to have an application from your organization, and I think Lindsay talked a little bit about the conflict of interest at the top of the meeting. So if you had an interest in something we were discussing, if it was our adjudication meeting, you'd probably have to declare that conflict and step aside when we were talking about grant dispersal. But you know, we don't want to discourage any organization from applying. We'd work around that. I would say, Joan, one thing I didn't cover in my presentation, the Community Foundation has to route dollars to qualified donees who are other charities, municipalities, First Nations. There's a certain group of agencies that have charitable numbers that we can supply money to. That doesn't mean not-for-profits can't apply. You just have to have a sponsoring agent locally, and we have some forms on our website, so you would do that because you don't have your own charitable number, but we don't want to discourage you from applying. You just need a charity to work with to receive and to route the dollars on your behalf. And that's something we're all going to be talking about as we get into some of the more granular detail about how we do our granting as well.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions for Stuart? Okay, not right now. So we have the motion on the floor, moved and seconded to receive Stuart's presentation as information. Is anyone opposed to that?
No.
Okay, hearing none, that's carried. So next on the agenda, number 9.1, Community Fund Management Orientation. Dave, did you have something for that? We can't hear you, but you're not muted, so your headset might be causing an issue.
Is that better now?
Yeah.
Okay. As far as I think Stuart's gone through the presentation pretty clearly, and as far as that was really what we meant for orientation for this meeting. I think really where we want to get to is the outcomes of that orientation and talk about, you know, work plan discussions. And I think maybe well, Stuart's the guy that is likely best to talk about that in relation to, you know, because great, we've done what we've done tonight, and we're going to elect a chair and a vice chair. But where do you envision for the committee that the next meeting or 2 or 3 would go, as far as what would be the normal practice of a newly formed community foundation committee?
I think it'd be great to talk about what's going on in Southgate, and the committee might spend a little time discussing what would be the best way to get the word out about this new opportunity, and maybe talk about some stakeholders or target groups that we'd want to address. Some of the other community funds are talking about, you know, funeral homes, financial advisors. You know, we could make a list of different target groups that we'd like to work our way through and to talk to about the new community fund to see if there's ways of reaching out. Maybe we want to discuss as well what would be the best vehicle for helping us to promote the fund, whether it's a brochure or if you want to rely on social media, how we do that. I can also bring Christine McGregor from my office into the conversation to talk about what some of the other groups have done in terms of getting the word out. Probably because what happens with the fund is that the initial investment has to be in the pool for at least 1 full fiscal year before we're able to grant out. So I don't believe we're going to be granting in early 2022 unless we do a flow through donation. But we can begin to get people apprised and aware of this new opportunity, and also talked about to citizens and members of the community that might be interested in supporting this great initiative and how that's going to work. Also, we'd want to talk to charities and not-for-profits in the area, like Joan's group and some other groups, to make sure they're aware of this new opportunity that we're going to be focusing on Southgate, and to encourage grant applications in the spring intake from those entities as well. So I think it's kind of a high level kind of talking about what might work best in your community, and maybe there's particular people we want to talk to, and putting together a loose work plan for the first year of how we want to get this off the ground and broker some conversations with the people that we need to talk to really make it a success.
Perfect. Joan, you have something?
Yeah, with that being said, Stuart, so I have another question for you, because you're talking about target group and funding. So for the community, the funding that you have, it's just charitable organization that can apply for the funding. So anyone that is a charitable organization, like say Red Cross, and those are their organization that we as non-for-profit can work with them or alongside with them, because I know I've spoken to Charlene, I can't remember her name. Okay, so the target group will be charitable organization, and then other non-for-profit organization and other organization can work with those charitable organization to receive funding.
Yes.
Okay.
And Joan, I can explain a little bit further, and maybe show you some of the forms that we use as well, if you want to you can always give me a ring at the office anytime.
Yeah, I will.
And yeah, I can help you work that through. And I'd also get you to talk to Jennifer Legg, our grants coordinator, and she can give you some of the some tips on applying as well. You want to make sure you're successful.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. So it sounds like the work plan will kind of develop over the next couple meetings rather than trying to nail that down tonight, I'm thinking.
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else have any other questions about work plan or anything to Stuart? Okay, not hearing anything. So the next item on our agenda is the election of the committee chair and vice chair. Typically with a new committee that would occur at the start of the meeting, but we wanted the members to listen to what Stuart has to say in his presentation before we did the election. So now what we'll do, there's a motion to elect the chair and one for the vice chair. So if someone wanted to nominate someone, or we'll just kind of have a discussion and get some names on the floor. Does anyone have any ideas?
This is like a standoff.
Yeah. I'd like to see, and it works for me, a member of the public as the chair and vice chair, because I think that's where this should run through, is the public, not totally controlled by council. But that also is self-serving a bit too.
Have a suggestion, Mayor Woodbury, for a chair that we could just put on the floor and then talk about it?
To me, it's who I'd like to see someone step forward to see it, because it's a matter of time, and I know, you know, people are very busy, so it's a matter of that. I don't know, Dale, you're one of the ones that's connected in the community with deeper roots than most, but I know how busy you are, so I don't know.
I think at this time, I wouldn't, I don't think at this time, I'd better say I could do it. I happen to, we're maybe thinking now that you can go south in the wintertime, we're maybe thinking of being away for a bit. So I'd better not get involved in something like that and not be here. That's not fair to the committee.
I'm wondering, sorry, go ahead, Mayor.
No, go ahead. That's just what I was wondering with Dale, yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering if, I'm trying to think on the top of my head, I don't think there's a requirement. Maybe if we waited until the next meeting to elect the chair and vice chair, gives people some time to mull over the information and ask Stuart questions on the side if needed. And then when we regroup and have our next meeting, we could maybe a chair would come forward. And hopefully our other member, Dawn, can be in attendance. And maybe Joan has some other members that might be interested, or some other people that might be interested in becoming members. We could get them appointed.
How often are the meetings for this committee?
Well, it's next on our agenda. We were going to discuss that.
Okay.
And figure that out as a group, but.
So
what do we
I think
about that?
a question for Stuart is, what is the normal, Stuart, for people or for committees having a meetings? Is it monthly or every other month, or does it vary depending on demand of parts of the year?
So it's very sporadic. Kincardine meets every month, the last Monday of the month at 5. Saugeen Shores is meeting about every other month. Grey Highlands and Meaford are a little bit quieter. There's just two or three members on each of those, so that it's more informal. Owen Sound is, I'd say, every other month as well. and then a little bit more frequent around granting time.
Yes.
So what do we think about deferring the appointment of the chair and vice chair to the next meeting?
Yeah, every other month work better for me.
Let's suggest we have a meeting early in the new year, and in that meantime, we can firm up members or membership and members, and see where we get to, serve that out or figure that out at the next meeting with chair and vice chair. And I'm wondering, in relation to budget, Stuart made a good point. We won't be handing really money out unless we do flow through, and we could very well flow through. I'm thinking Mayor Woodbury is to the donation side of it. We'll allocate the budget and let this committee make the decisions on where we allocate funds as a bit of a test, and we could go from there.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Next time too, Dave, I'd be happy to bring some materials about some of the other promotional things that other community funds have done. Maybe do a little presentation to kind of kickstart a conversation about where you'd like to go and make your own mark.
Right. Right. And maybe we could just have a staff to staff meeting to kind of brainstorm what the look of that agenda would be, and the next couple or 3 agendas to, because this is a very big learning curve for everyone, including staff. So we're relying on you heavily to get us get the booster cables on us and get us going. So.
Okay. So I
Joan
guess
likes that idea, the booster cables.
It's seasonal.
Yes,
It's good.
At this point now, I'll entertain a motion to defer the election of the chair and vice chair until the next meeting. John is a mover. Do I have a seconder for that? Heather?
I'll move. Heather.
So I have John as a mover, Heather as the seconder. Is anyone opposed to the deferral of the election of chair and vice chair? Okay, hearing none, that is carried. So the next item on our agenda is new business. So this is a section where members can bring up anything new that's not necessarily on the agenda. So there's likely not a lot right now, just because it's the first meeting, but if anyone has anything to bring up, now would be the time.
And maybe just for the record of minutes, maybe we could put that conversation of staff will work with Stuart to map out meetings or the agendas for meetings for the next 2 or 3 meetings go ahead of us.
Yeah, we'll put that under new business, Holly. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is next meeting. We kind of touched on that again. I think everyone is good with Monday nights. Does that seem to be okay? At 7 o'clock. Dale, is that good with you? You weren't on last time, so I didn't get a chance to ask you that.
Yeah, no, Mondays, once you get corn off, and I'm fine.
Okay, perfect. I think Dawn was okay with it too. So staff will schedule. Yep, go ahead, Joan.
Mondays are fine as long as it's not the second Monday. Okay. I think I sent my calendar over. So yeah, the second Mondays are not good for me.
And I think originally we were doing the fourth Monday, weren't we, Holly? This one was just kind of an extra to get us back on track. But if we can try to stick to that fourth Monday, staff will send out an invite in the new year for the next meeting, and we'll go from there.
Yes, I'm good for fourth Mondays. Yeah.
Okay, so if there's not anything else, then I would entertain a mover to adjourn the meeting at 8:13 p.m. We just need a mover for this.
Also move, Dale.
Okay, thank you, Dale. So we are adjourned.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Nice to meet everybody.
Take care.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.